friends, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading Channel. If this is the first time you're visiting our channel, we want to extend to you a very, very warm welcome. If you have been here before, thank you for coming back. Welcome to you as well. If today is your birthday, yeehaw, happy birthday! So today we're going to make a very fun build that you can do with your child if you want, and you can do with minimal tools. And when I say minimal tools, you will need one of these, right? Something to measure and make angles, and then any kind of cutting implement. You can use a jigsaw, you can use a handsaw, you can use anything you want. In our case, we're going to use a chop saw only because we want the build to go fast so we can record it, right? But even with a handsaw, this will not be a very long build. Easily an afternoon. What do you think, ladies? It is not
just really between an hour and a half.
I mean, even with us recording and stopping and arranging things, still didn't take that much. So we designed it to be built by everyone. This, I think, is a great first project, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do today, we're going to turn one of these, which is $3 to $4. It is a cedar picket fence.
Fence picket.
Fence picket. What's the difference?
Well, the
It's
picket.
not a fence.
It's not a fence yet,
picket.
right?
So it's the picket, but then when you put it together, it's called a picket fence.
And this is a 4.5 by 3/4 thickness by is it 6 feet? By 6 feet.
And it's 5.5 wide.
Yes, and we're going to turn this into this beautiful birdhouse.
So we bought these cedar pickets, which we usually buy for projects that we're going to be using, inexpensive wood, something that doesn't have to be extremely strong, durable though, and so we have to clean it up just a little bit. First, because it has a potentially, for a fence picket, you don't care if the edges of it are really even and smooth. So we're going to straighten it up and make sure that it is a nice crisp edge before we use the board. So I know that this is a square, butt it up against here, and I'm just going to use our chop saw to cut the edge off.
All right, and here we're going to do a very rough tick mark at 4 1/4. And this is artificial. You can have any dimension you want. What is important is that you remember this measurement because this will be consistent going forward. This is in essence our height. Okay? So we're going to do 4 1/4. And this is the tool we're going to use consistently throughout this build, the square.
And so you're using the square to make a straight mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we'll take it, and we don't necessarily need a straight mark, but if you were using a handsaw, because this is something you can easily do with a handsaw, these boards are easy to cut. They're very soft, right?
Okay.
So you're going to make a mark, and then we're going to cut 2 pieces this dimension. We're not going to mark the other piece. We're going to use the first piece to cut the second.
Okay.
All
And
right.
again, just to reiterate, the reason why you made the mark was to demonstrate if you were using a handsaw, you would want to make sure you're staying on the line, but because we're using the chop saw, we didn't necessarily
Correct.
need that. Okay.
I mean, it's a good practice anyway. It doesn't cost anything, but some people like to see it, right?
Okay.
So here's our first piece that we had marked with a pencil line, and it is nice and square on the sides, and we're going to use that as our measure for the next piece because it's exactly the same width.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that it's very well lined up on the side here, flush, so that they're going to be exactly the same size. And I'm going to move it over, make sure it's pushed flush up against the guard there. And then we're going to see how close we are to the blade. We're not that close, so we have to move both boards until it touches the blade. Yeah? I think we're ready.
So next we're going to cut a piece that's approximately 8.5 inches in length. And again, this is not critical, but we need to cut 3 pieces that dimension.
Okay.
That is what's critical, right? And if you I said we're only going to use this, so that's what I did. And, I put the mark at 6 inches, and then I put my square on that mark, and then at 2 inches. So I cut it at 8, not 8.5. So we cut it 8.5. Makes it a little longer. Again, it's a matter of preference. Again, this is the roof and the bottom. This is a matter of taste. The dimensions are not critical here. And when you do that, and I'm going to show you in a moment, the line that you don't want to use, cancel it, right? Put a squiggle line over it.
Or if you happen to have an eraser handy, you can do that too.
Nah, erasers. It's
Okay.
not grade school. Use one of the small pieces you cut and just make a mark where it ends, because we need that as a consistent measure. And now we're going to cut the front and the back, right? So the front and the back have to be the same dimension as the... So make 2 marks, make one on each side, and then you're going to use your square, put it on the 45, this is a 45 on every square, right? And then move it slowly until you get to a mark, and we're going to do the same on the other side.
Okay.
So now make another line. Again, we're going to go to our mark, make another line again. Okay, and this way, if you're using it by hand, it's still a straight cut, right? You don't have to calculate any angles. We're going to simply put our saw to 45 degrees and cut this piece. So now again, because we want a consistent height of our bird, we're going to take one of the short pieces of our bird house.
Of our bird?
Not our bird. And then put it again, I don't know if you can see it.
Right.
Lining it
against
the lines.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can make a mark, because that's the height of that piece. We have the correct height here. In essence, we're duplicating that, right?
Okay.
And we're going to end up with a little bit of a waste, but this is the most efficient way to actually use
And
our
so
wood.
the waist pieces will be this
Right.
and this.
Correct.
Okay.
So now we're going to cut these lines.
And
So
then
it's
also
one
this.
cut, yeah.
Okay.
Then we're going to cut the waist, and then we're going to cut this. And as you can see, this is a very easy wood to cut, right? I'm just evening the cut here. All right.
Yeah.
So now we have 2 pieces that they are mirroring of each other, right? And we're going to cut them both at the same time because we can. If you're using a handsaw, you're going to do it one at a time, right? But we're going to go to our saw now and cut this.
Now, the 2 sides.
And these are all our cuts. You should have 2 short pieces, 3 longer pieces, and 2 front and back, 2 end pieces, right?
Uh-huh.
And there are no more cuts.
And these are the little waist pieces
Well, these are
from
yeah,
this.
cutouts. They don't do anything. So now we start the fun part of assembly. I lied. So we take our 2 roof pieces that we're going to connect thusly, but as you can see, if we do it this way, one will be taller than the other.
This one's longer.
So put them together, and if you want to make a line for us. So we're going to have to remove this piece, right?
Okay.
And that would allow us to have the correct dimension. Now, again, if you're using a saw, you can cut it with a saw. We're going to probably use our bandsaw so we don't have to take our table saw out.
All right, we have our bandsaw set up with our fence because that's going to keep us nice and straight as we cut along this pencil mark.
purposes, we're going to use a staple gun and glue to put the house together. But I'm going to show you how to do it if you have no power equipment at all. So after we put it together, I will show you how to do certain of the processes we're doing here without any power tools. So we're going to take, and here is the only, I don't even want to call it tricky part. You're going to take one of the 3 pieces that we didn't cut, that it is the original dimension, and then the piece that you cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the piece that you cut, in essence, you're going to put it at 90 degrees to the other piece, which will make a 90-degree angle. Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to set it up so we can glue it and nail it.
So we're putting glue on the shorter of the 2 pieces, the one we cut that little edge off
And
of.
be liberal with the glue here, because that also will act as a caulking to prevent water from getting in. Okay?
And then we're lining this up with the edge of the table to help us get that 90 degree.
And when I say liberal with the glue, I was liberal with the
Ooh,
glue.
very liberal.
So we can't see it, but apparently it's coming out the other side, right?
Ready?
Go to the other side.
Yes, so when we said liberal, we were liberal.
Oh yeah, you weren't kidding.
No. And now we have a very nice roof, right?
Roof line. There we go.
We hope we have a very nice roof.
Yeah,
Yes?
looks awesome.
So we have designed this to be as easy a build as possible. All right, so we're going to move on with the assembly and we're going to show you every step. So now we're going to show you how our pieces go together, right? So you're going to put the back flush, because if you want to attach the birdhouse on a wall, you don't want anything in the back, right? You don't want protruding. And then you're going to put the 2 walls, and now you see why those dimension was important, right? Even though we don't know the exact dimension because it was just a very fast cut. Again, it's not critical to know the dimension, right?
And again, we're leaving a little bit here for the porch type thing.
And I cannot see in the back. Can you align it? Now we're going to make a hole here as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
So-
somebody can actually get inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Neat.
excellent.
looks
So
good.
we need to make an entry for the little birds, and there are some things to consider when you did this hole. You want the hole to be the appropriate size for the bird you want to attract, right? But you don't want it too big, because the birds usually will not occupy a birdhouse, and the reason is that they are too big holes, right? They are much smaller than you give them credit for when you see them, because you see them with the wings open and everything. But birds tend to be small. If your hole is too big and a small bird goes in there, it will be killed by a bigger bird. You want the hole just enough. Then you can actually go on the web and you can, let's say you want the finch to get in there, right? You can say, what hole do I need to make in a birdhouse for a finch to go in? And that will give you the exact dimension, right?
Okay.
Here we're just showing you the process. I would like, what is it called? The little ones with the teeth bird? No, what is it called? It is a straight.
Tufted titmouse.
Yeah. We want it for those, and that will be the appropriate. Say it again.
Tufted titmouse.
Okay. And that's the appropriate one. Now here we're going to use a power tool, but it's a tool that most people should have, right? If you don't, you can go to a yard sale or a second-hand store, and you can buy one of the old style. They look like an egg beater.
Like an auger type thing.
Yeah, and you can do it that way, but I would think most people have a drill bit, right? Also, if you don't and you only have bits, use the largest bit you have, and you can make a series of holes around it, and then just punch it in, right? So there are several ways to do it. For us, we're going to use, all right? So we want it to be fairly centered, so we're going to use again our magic square here, and we are aligning it with the top corner, right? And then we're going to put a mark wherever we want to make the next
If we're going to put a little perch outside, we would put that lower, and then the hole would be above it. If we're only going to put a hole, we could put it a little bit lower. So that's a personal choice.
Right. We can put the perch. That's fine.
Okay, so we'll put the hole somewhere here.
Okay, and then grab a piece of scrap. Let's turn it over so it doesn't have a blowout. It probably will because I went a little too far. I went a little too far, and again, it's a birdhouse. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want to avoid a blowout, you can just let your scrap and just drill a little into your scrap. That will make the cleanest hole.
But from the outside, I think it's going to be okay.
Right.
You can just clean up a little bit of those shreds.
Yep. Right.
And so that is for our perch, which we've got a dowel. Use the insert there, and
Okay.
then we'll cut it off to the appropriate length.
Yes. So after you assemble the roof, assemble the back and the sides. Again, it's the same process. I will show you how to do it with nails. But if you're not using nails, that's the same process as we did before, okay? So we're going to do that next. So when you're in this stage, you can put the front, and we're going to put the roof last, right?
Okay.
Okay, let's put the front. And we need to put glue on both of those, right? It'll be easier to do it this way. Flat. Okay. And last but not least, we're going to put the roof on. So for the roof, you might want to put flat. Now the most challenging part of this will be here because we're not on the edge, right? So we need to we have to have some way of knowing where we need to put our
Mark
Yeah.
it there, and then when you line that up there,
is it lined up?
well, I'm just saying that would be
Okay.
a way to do it. So if you can mark them. And then that will show you that that is where that edge of the board is.
A little higher.
Same should be true for this side, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're lining up that line.
I think we're good. Huh?
Might as well
But
be
you
even.
did 3 on this side, 3 on that side.
All right. So now we're going to put our little dowel. We need to cut it. Probably the bunch, right?
Kind of rough measuring. I want it to go all the way through the front piece, and I want it to be about as long as the porch is, so they have a nice place to perch. So I'm just going to cut this with a little handsaw.
Again, the bandsaw will make this almost instantaneous, right? But we want to show you don't have to have a power tool.
And And these small Japanese saws are actually quite effective for this type of cut. They make a very clean cut as well.
When you can know there's no operator error.
They do have a little bit of a learning curve because of the way the blades are set up, but they're very nice.
No, I mean, it's already dripping. Just collect the drippage.
It's not going to be enough though.
Okay, so a little bit of glue on the end of that dowel. It's going to go right into the hole that we drilled. Twist it a little bit.
I want to make a few points. If you want this to be really habitated by birds, there are a couple of details you need to pay attention to. One of them is that you want an opening here. You want a little, what do you call it? You see there is a little opening here, but probably you want 1/8 of an inch so you can allow water, air to circulate, right?
Okay.
Also on the actual bird house, you want to make a couple of holes on the bottom so if water gets in, it can actually drain out. It does not stay on.
Okay.
Okay, those are points that you might want to consider. Again, if you want to display it inside your house, you might want to sand this, or you might want to put it through a planer if you have one, right? I like this look. I don't know about you ladies.
And so we can attach this to the tree in several different ways. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way I did it was to be flat in the back. So you can go on a tree, you can go on a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I was to do that, I would put a little keyhole here, or you can put just a nail. There are many ways to do it. Or alternatively, you can use a big dowel and put it on a pole.
Okay.
Make a dowel hole and just sit it there, right? So there are many different things that you can do with it. So if you do not have power equipment and you need to do everything by hand, I will show you building the roof, but the whole thing can go that way. Start by putting the nails first on one piece. And avoid knots if you can, right? You want it to protrude just a little bit. This doesn't want to protrude at all. The idea behind protruded is it will help you hold it, right? And here you can use square clamps if you have them. And as you can see, with nails we got the same result, the same tight fit, right?
Yep.
And the trick I show you makes things easier, so you don't have to start and hold it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And Mrs. Wizard was kind enough to hold it for me, but really you can do that by yourself, right? So you will do that in all the places we use brad nails, right? And because they are nails, notice we put 5 brad nails, we only put 3 nails. This is a very, very strong, this doesn't come apart.
Connection.
Yeah. So that's all you need. You need 3 and probably on the sides 2.
Okay.
Totally doable with a hammer.
And would you
nail.
still use the glue though?
Yes, I would use the glue regardless. Especially here because again the glue on the roof will act as caulking to prevent any water coming from the roof. Okay. Also, we got lucky. We didn't have very bowed pieces, but if you have a bowed piece, let's say, and it ends up on your roof, you want the bow to be up. So as you fasten it, you push it down. Does that make sense?
So,
if you put the bow down, it will tend to collect water and it will just make it worse.
so if it's bowed, you want it to be like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Again, it's a birdhouse. You don't look for perfect pieces of wood here, right? Unless you want to make it as a decorative piece inside your house, in which case you can finish that.
And that's more important to you to have everything be straight.
Correct, yes. To me, that looks better than perfect. Right?
Yep.
Again, the construction will remain the same, but the opening of the entry, the opening of the entry. That was brilliant. The opening here has to be different based on what size bird you want to live in your house, right? Also, if you build it for a live birdhouse, on one of the two sides, do not affix it fully. Just put nails on each side so it can come out, open and close. So in essence, you can clean it, right? Because the way we build it here, you cannot clean it.
Okay.
Does it make sense? But by using just nails, then you can open this, empty last year's, put the new year's. The construction, again, that's the only difference in construction. No difference in the cutting list, nothing else, right? The size of this is the correct size for most birds. I mean, you're not going to have an eagle coming in here. Clearly a joke, right? But you can make it bigger, but you don't want it too big because, again, if the opening is too big, for example, if you don't want squirrels coming in and eating the eggs or other creatures, slithery creatures that they like to do that. So this has to be the appropriate hole, and you find that again on the internet, right? See what size hole you need for the bird you want. Like if you want sparrows. Sparrows are really small birds, smaller than you think. You say, what size opening does a sparrow need in a birdhouse? And then make that opening that dimension. Understanding that if a smaller bird gets in, then your desired bird will probably kill it to take over the house, right? Nature is cruel.
Real estate wars.
Real estate wars, yeah. But what do you think, ladies? You like it?
Yeah,
Very nice.
it's nice.
So this is an easy beginner project, I think. We hope you did enjoy this build. We did enjoy making it, even though it is 1,000 degrees here. If you did enjoy it, we will appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know if you like this type of video. This was more step-by-step than our normal videos, right? I mean, we feel, or at least I hope, that you can follow this video and build this birdhouse. From Dr. Wizard, Mrs. Wizard, Elpida, and the Urban Homesteading Channel, stay safe, friends.